Hi, I am Tina, founder of Accounting Pros, and I'm really excited to introduce you to a friend and client, Allan over at Agilitec. We've been working with Allan for a while, but I think that you guys will find what he does really interesting. Many of you guys are maybe starting to work from home for the first time and have never figured a way to use technology in your home versus in the office, and I think Allan would be an exceptional resource for this. But I won't tell you what he does. I will let him tell you a little bit more about who Agilitec is and the services that he offers. So, Allan, tell me, who is Agilitec?
Thanks for that intro, Tina.
Yeah.
So, Agilitec is a managed IT services provider. We've got a focus on cloud applications and have a security first mindset.
Okay.
We look to empower businesses through implementing what we call the modern workplace and digital
Okay.
transformation. So, primarily leveraging SaaS applications and looking for efficiencies through technology.
So you said something really important where you have the securities first. And I think that a lot of people are probably a little worried or concerned about maybe working off site and losing some of that security. So if someone were to come to you and say, I don't really know if we can do this, how would you put their mind at ease and how would you let them know that what you're doing is, is exactly what they're looking for in their business?
Right. Yeah. And that's how I think it is a somewhat different mindset. But I think in today's world, we have to look at it through a lens of security first versus just convenience, because it is on a sliding scale there. Security is inherently inconvenient. So we work with our clients and figure out where they want to be in that realm, right? Because if we ramp up security to 100%, it's essentially an unusable system. So it depends on the industry. But I think he touched on something important in that when you're in a corporate office or in an office setting, there's some layers of security we can implement. They may be managed workstations or corporate devices. And the fact that everybody has to now work from home at this point increases security risks because they're accessing them from home computers. So what we'll do is assess an existing environment and ensure that we've got all of those layers protected. So we align ourselves with something called the NIST framework. It's a National Institute of Standards and Technology. There's a cyber security framework there, and there's 5 stages, right? So it's basically identify where your holes are. You have to protect, so you have to have some sort of protection in place. You have to have detection. So if you do get breached, how do you know you've been breached?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And then there's restore and recover. So obviously, if something happens, what's your ability to recover from that incident? So
Yeah, I
that's how
think
we do
that
that.
that's incredibly important. And I'm sure that probably changes a little bit how you apply technology and assess risk by industry. So what are some of the industries that you're working with and what are some of the nuances that you might not think about when you're, considering using an MSP?
Right. And I think that is probably one of the biggest advantages of at least our MSP and most MSPs are that we're not limited to one specific industry. So we work with accounting firms, financial firms. We work with medical offices, so we understand HIPAA compliance. We work with manufacturing, real estate. Actually, one of our biggest verticals are multi-location fine dining restaurant groups. So the whole gamut. And everybody's got their own challenges. And I think because we are exposed to those different industries, we have a different outlook on how to protect those environments.
So one of the very first things you said that you do when you're onboarding a client is really assess and understand, what's going on and what the challenges might be. So how does somebody ramp up with you quickly? Do they need to have an idea of what their current systems are? So if somebody had never done this before, what are the steps for them?
Yeah, and we definitely take that off of their plate because most of our clients aren't technology professionals, right? They're
Right.
busy running their own business. So we take that heavy lifting off of their plate, and we identify, okay, what applications are they using, what kind of industry are they in, and then we do a heavy discovery assessment with all of our clients even before we bring them on board. We want to make sure we're a good fit for them, and vice versa as well.
Right.
So we identify, again, all of their existing infrastructure, all of their existing applications, how many end users they have, what kind of hardware they have, what are their current policies and procedures, and wrap all of that up and give them a roadmap essentially. And we meet regularly with all of our clients. It's not just a one and done and walk away. It's very important that we become a part of your business so that we can guide you into into more stable environment and ensure that your company's technology is able to grow with your business.
Yeah, I think that not having the one and done approach is probably pretty important, especially since risk changes day to day. There's always new threats that are coming around that you have to really watch for. Technology changes, and if you're just going to apply one solution at the very beginning, then a month, 2 months later, it's probably already out of date. So keeping them up to date and apprised of what's going on is really, really important.
Absolutely right, and especially with a security standpoint, that side of the business is changing so rapidly, so quickly. It's a cat and mouse game.
Sure.
The hackers are constantly trying to figure a way around the new security systems, which is why it has to be a multi-layered approach. There is no one size fits all. There's no 100% solution. But then, if we're not meeting with our clients regularly and working on roadmaps with them, how are they leveraging technology? So not just from a security standpoint, but also productivity and efficiency, because in the end, why do you have technology if it's not making your business more efficient?
That's true. Yeah, I agree with that. So what is an example of maybe a horror story or something that's happened that you've heard of in your industry? I'm sure you've heard all the stories going to industry events, but what's something that you can share? We all like those kind of stories.
Sure. I mean, and honestly, the biggest one these days are because first of all, the IT industry is unfortunately not very regulated.
Got it.
I wish it would be more regulated. So anybody can can essentially say, I'm an IT service provider, I'm an MSP, right? They have zero experience and there's no standard body saying, yes, this is a qualified individual. So, there's a lot of fly-by-night companies, there's a lot of one-man shops. And while they potentially could do a good job, I think it's a huge risk, because I've seen way too many times where an unqualified MSP will be supporting a company, and if they don't have the appropriate background or policies and procedures in place, the appropriate security background, that's where all of the breaches are happening now.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it is a huge horror story where the MSPs are actually being used as the conduit for hackers to get into all of their clients.
That hurts.
Yeah, and that is the biggest risk of using an unqualified company right now, or a person, is we are one of the biggest targets of the hackers, because if they know they break into our systems, we're essentially managing
everybody's system. Yeah, they get the keys to the kingdom at that point, and lots of kingdoms, not just one.
Simultaneously with automated software where they can deploy their payload. So
man,
we have to be extra vigilant in ensuring that we are tightened up in terms of security.
So what makes a qualified MSP, or what do you have like on your team in terms of qualifications?
Right. So we have a person with a CISSP. It's one of the higher level security certifications that you can have in the industry. There's actually not that many CISSPs out in the nation. So, he is one of our, what we call our BCIOs. So he works with our clients and develops these roadmaps with them.
Got it.
And, again, because he's got a security background, he's always ensuring our clients' systems meet those standards, right? And so, yeah, I think that's important is to determine who is employed by the MSP and are they qualified.
So if someone were going out to vet a new MSP, just to make sure that they can have all the systems in place, or working with somebody qualified, they know what they're doing, what are some questions that they should be asking to make sure that they've got the right person for the job?
Yeah, well, so I'd certainly ask to speak to some of their existing clients.
Right.
Ask for testimonials, but not just testimonials. If a MSP is doing a fantastic job, they should have several clients that are champions and are willing to speak to you as another business owner. So that's one. I would ask to see what their SLAs are for their clients, so their service level agreements, and what they agree to in terms of response time, recovery time, et cetera. How many tickets, what is their percentage of tickets that actually meet those SLAs?
Okay.
So a professional MSP should already have those numbers in place.
Right. And that's
Um,
going to be coming out of their software, like
Ticketing system.
ConnectWise. Yeah. Ticketing
Yep.
system.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if they don't have a ticketing system, it's very difficult to understand
Yeah.
how they would even service their customers. And then, honestly, I think the biggest differentiator is ask them what their percentage of tickets are proactive versus reactive. And that will tell you a lot about a company.
So can we
Yeah.
talk about that a little bit more? So what does that mean?
Right. So the biggest difference between an MSP and what was traditionally known as a break fix IT services firm
Mm-hmm.
are that break fix operate in a reactive manner. So really, they're only reacting when a client is calling them and they're fixing a problem.
Yeah.
The managed services model is predicated on being proactive so that we react less. So we're intentionally ensuring that the client's technology meets a standard set of guidelines to avoid downtime, to avoid security incidents. So a mature MSP will actually spend upwards of 80% of their time being proactive. So we're not
Mm-hmm.
even reacting to any issues. We're just ensuring everything is patched, everything is configured properly, everything is updated, so that there's very little reactive time. So really, you should see 20 to 25% of reactive on a professional managed services provider.
So some of that I think can actually be translated to accounting as well. You take more of the advisory approach and you're helping your clients really understand what are some things that are coming down the road, what you should you be paying attention to. Because our clients are not accountants by trade, they're MSPs and other industries as well. And if we wait for them to come to us, it's already too late. So the goal is essentially the same, to not be reactive, but be proactive and providing those sorts of resources. And I do think your approach is excellent, because if I've broken something again, it's too late. If you can help me stay safe and not break anything and keep my clients' data safe and everything else, then we're already in a better position, rather than having to go put out fires and figure out, oh gosh, what do I do now? So I really appreciate that approach. So
Yeah.
do you have any other comments that you think would be helpful for someone, kind of figuring out what's next? They can't use traditional, cloud software. Slack's not a thing. They can't use Drive. They need to have something specific to meet their industry criteria. What do they do when they're in the situation that they've been, thrown into?
Right, especially in a work from home type of scenario. If they
Right.
can't use SaaS-based applications, what we do with those type of environments is we can implement something called a Windows Virtual Desktop and
Okay.
leverage Microsoft Azure. So while
Mm-hmm.
it is cloud, it is replicating their on-premise systems. And even if they have compliance needs, Azure is the NSA uses Azure, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it can be extremely secure and meet any compliance requirements, whether it be FINRA or HIPAA. There are systems in place to where we can ensure that data stays within the United States if that's a requirement. So that's what we do with clients that cannot use SaaS-based applications. Is we will forklift their entire infrastructure into a secure cloud and make it so that they can then operate off of a secure desktop, and that's what the Windows Virtual Desktop is. So in essence, they get the best of both worlds. They can use any device in any place. They can use an iPad or an Android tablet or any laptop, but none of the data leaves that secure cloud. It's all
Got it.
operating within there.
That
So
that feels like a big weight lifted off of lots of people's chests, I'm sure. I could never figure any of those things out, especially if I was put into it like in the moment, having to scramble to get my employees working remotely. Luckily, we have our own systems and we are able to use SaaS applications. But if I were in a position like, oh man, I need to figure out how to do this right now, I would feel completely lost. So I'm glad that you have the ability to help people right now and in the future. And if anybody has any questions, I hope that you'd be available to answer any of those questions about how they can move over to Agilitec or learn more about what an MSP does. So I'll get you connected with lots of people. But I really appreciate the time that you've given me today. Any closing thoughts?
no, I appreciate that the time as well, Tina. And yes, we're looking at this is an extremely challenging time for all businesses and
Right.
the general public in the world. So we're offering our services for free right now.
Wow, that's
Just to help
awesome.
businesses. Yeah, yeah. free consultations, and then even free project services if people need assistance to get remote work in place, right? To work from home, because the last thing we need is for a business to have to think about monetary restrictions right now. So
Right.
we're
Or put
giving
their
them
own clients at risk or risk their certifications, licenses, things like that. So
absolutely.
that's amazing. I had no idea you were doing that. So that's an awesome service that you've got. And yeah, so thank you so much for your time. And we'll talk again soon.
Thank you.